Hello, everyone. Welcome back on this beautiful weekday, this Monday. Today, I'm going to talk more about masturbation. Well, actually, no, it's porn. I'm going to talk about porn. I'm going to talk about porn and sex and mental prisons and the dating world. At the end, I talk more about the mental prisons and the being woke and shit. So if you want to listen to that, you can skip to the end. But I talk about, we're going to talk about some interesting shit today. So stay tuned. You can go to my website, tstuch.com, tstuch.com. Go to my YouTube, Taylor space Stuch, Taylor space Stuch. Email me, tayradio1 at gmail.com. And thank you. Enjoy the show. All right, guys, let's jump into the fun, shall we? So, first, I want to provide an update that I have so far gone a whole month without watching any pornography. So, now and I'm saying like not even one video, nothing like that. So I was already pretty much on the not doing a whole lot of that, not watching a whole lot of that, but it's been an interesting experiment. So I'd like to say that I'm going to shoot for not watching it again. Of course, shit happens, but I'm going to try to take that day at a time approach, which is so funny. So this is super interesting. This is even a conversation, a situation. It shows you how available it is. Now, I am not saying that porn is a horrible thing and that no one should watch it. It's all based on your individual situation, your individual preferences. Do you feel like it's controlling? Do you feel like it's a problem? If you feel like it's a problem, then do something about it. If you don't feel like it's a problem, then don't do something about it. For me, I didn't think it was an issue at all. And then over the last, I would say I've gone through a couple years, the last few years, I have been dealing with the fact that it is a problem for me. And I don't even this year and last year, I got it down to where I had really minimized how much I was watching. Like I first off, since I got out of college, I haven't, I've been in relationships and stuff like that, and I haven't, I'm not like when you're a teenager, you go through periods where you're like that's all you want to do is watch that shit all day. But that hasn't been the case for a long time. So it's not like I'm this guy that's sitting around all the time, got to get my fix. It's just that, I've noticed that I think it disrupts my perception of what I maybe want or what I'm attracted to. It disrupts my perception of what I should be doing versus what I am doing. So for me, it's been important to reduce how much I watch, which maybe went from looking at it a couple times a week, which I don't think is a lot, to once a week to now trying to go for zero. So far it's been successful, though I have to be honest, it has been tough. There are times where I want to, pull out some videos or look at some stuff, but I don't do it. I haven't done it yet. So I am excited about that. Now, I know, so you could say I'm a little excited. I've got a little chubby. No. So that's cool. It's cool. It's also, the thing is that I'm all about trying to make myself a better person. For as much as that can be done. And I'm not so focused on the morality aspect of it so much as like the physical actions that you can do in the world. So it's like one of those things where, hey, I don't think I should be doing this, so what can I do to not do it anymore? Or what can I do to do it less? That's kind of how that came about. And going through this experiment, I have realized you really understand how easy, or I guess you could say, because porn is so easily accessible now, it can be a problem. And I just think it's funny because, say, like a few years ago, when I say a few years ago, I mean like a decade ago and further back, it wasn't the case. Like you just couldn't, 2 decades ago, you couldn't just oh, let me just pull up some new porn, right? Like you had to buy a bunch of movies or DVDs and stuff, and then before that, it was even more difficult. And so the way that it's so available, I do think that it's not good for us as a whole. But it's up to each individual to make that decision for themselves. And if you feel like it is not good for you, do what you can to stop it. And I would say don't feel ashamed either, because there's so many things going on in the society right now where you don't. It's not always clear what we should do. And it's not always clear. Yeah, it's honestly not always clear what we should do. I think a lot of the talk around sex and masturbation is that sex and masturbation are unconditional goods. And I don't have a problem with someone masturbating, but it's like, I mean, I've been doing plenty of that even though I haven't been watching porn. But I mean, when people talk about things like sex, it's like, dude, yeah, sex is great. But it's like you do have to have some restraints. So on the one hand, you have people that are too conservative. They're like, no, you can never have it. Abstinence is the only way. And then on the other hand, you have people that are like, no, it's always good. It's unconditionally good. And there's not enough of a talk around the nuance, which is, yes, you can have it. Be careful though, because there are diseases. Be careful though, because you can get somebody pregnant. And then the third, another one is you need to be careful. In my opinion, this is what I've learned. You got to be careful because you develop attraction for people. And you don't want to get in the habit of developing attractions to people that you really aren't attracted to, right? Like you can develop a sexual attraction to somebody, but you actually don't like that person. And so I am not saying you're not going to have some fun. I'm not saying don't go out and enjoy yourself, but you want to keep that in mind. Right? Like, and I think there are some possible downsides to that. I mean, when I was younger, it's so funny. As a younger guy, I didn't quite understand it, and I understand it now better, which was when I would get with some girls back in the day, back in college, for example, there was an expectation that depending on who it was like, okay, so we're kind of like in a relationship now. Was like question mark from the girl's end, and I was just kind of like, no, I'm not interested in a relationship right now, so like, no. And that was something I've really had to learn and understand. And so now as I'm older, I'm like, oh, like it's so funny. I mean, now there are times where I'm like, man, even though I'm really like would want to go after this person, I'm like, I actually don't like that person, So I shouldn't just do my thing because it's going to be complicated, right? I mean, it's a complicated situation and people don't talk about it. People want to either put it in the category of it's unconditionally bad or it's unconditionally good. And we're not having enough nuanced conversation, in my opinion, about sex. People, too many times it's the radicals on each side that, in my opinion, hijack the conversation. So you can't, if you want to tell people, listen, just be careful who you get with, right? Like, don't just get with people for fun all the time because it's going to cause a problem for you psychologically. Like you're going to realize that, you're going to some people you're going to develop feelings for in an unhealthy way. Some people you might accidentally get pregnant. Some people you might catch a disease that you're not trying to get. So, we should have discussions about, hey, maybe some people need to reduce the amount of shit that they're doing. Some people, it's okay to have some experiences, but it's like, just be careful. But I feel as though when you try to take that route, people tend to jump on you as being overly conservative. Anyway, hold on. I'll be right back, and we'll continue. So, yeah, I was just, talking about sex. Let's talk about sex, baby. Anyway, I saw an interesting Instagram post by Mike Cernovich on his Instagram stories, and he said that basically because of Tinder, or not because of Tinder, but with Tinder, we are seeing the emergence. It was the Tinder plus the pill. We're seeing the emergence of a dating situation where you've got several women going after the same like alpha male guy. and it's creating a situation where there's like a lot of men that aren't going to get laid because you've got like one guy that's kind of like playing around with two, three, four women at a time, not at once, but like kind of rotating through a group of women. And those women are hoping that that the alpha guy will settle down with them, and that's where they're all giving their time, which leaves an excess of men that aren't getting any attention or any love. And I think this is a very interesting situation that I have observed in the dating world. I haven't directly observed this, to be honest. So I've only observed it through proxies. And then I've also, it's interesting because Jordan Peterson talked about this as well. So first off, I want to say that I have noticed that just dating in general, like from my perspective, has been significantly more difficult in the last 2 years than it ever was. Now, I have attributed some of that just to life changes, right? So first, let me say I was in, the reason I say the last couple of years is because I was in a long-term relationship from like say 2014 to 2017, and so after that, in 2017, 2018, 2019, I've just noticed that the landscape's more difficult. It's more difficult to, it's obviously with certain things like Me Too and stuff, it's more difficult to navigate. Like, if you say something to a girl, text her something that she doesn't like, she might put it on the internet. So obviously, and like blow up your name and shit. So there's going to be some pullback with some of the Me Too stuff. But I thought it was interesting that I have noticed that too, is that at least from my perspective, I'm like, it's interesting because there are girls that I'm like, I'm having to, I don't know how to put this correctly, like the best way to describe my experiences. Like, I guess what I've noticed is that there are definitely women that I have taken some passes at that I'm like really surprised that it didn't go anywhere. And I'm like, this is just weird because now don't get me wrong, this could be like, maybe I'm just a complete fucking retard. Now, I'm like, it's not that I've had zero success in the last few years. It's just that it's to a lesser extent than I would have thought, for sure. And part of it, I think, is just because of work and life. And, when you're working and you're working like I am, like I don't work in an office. I work out of wherever I'm living. And so I don't have a whole lot of contact with, women all the time. But like, and I think the same thing with other women, like everybody's very concerned about their careers. So this is where the pill and feminism kind of comes in real quick, is that I feel as though with the pill and with women turning away from, and when I say women turning away from, obviously I'm generalizing, but I think as we've seen an increase in women turning away from looking to get into family situations, they're focusing on careers, and dating has changed a lot for women. So, like when a woman is in her 20s now, like this is so interesting because I've run into this a couple times where I've gone out with a girl or dated a girl where their primary focus, and I'm not saying this is good or bad, but their primary focus is the career. And so it makes me think like, okay, this is really interesting because in the past when women had less of a choice about career, it was more about I have to find the right guy who is going to be a combination of things. Not only will he be a good provider, but will he be a good husband, be a good father, all that stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I know I'm simplifying, I'm overdoing it, all that shit. But I'm just saying I believe it was more focused on I need to find a good guy as opposed to I need to find a good career. So I think what's happening is a lot of women right now in their 20s are focusing more on career and less on like, oh, I need to find a guy that I can settle down with. And what they're doing is they're all kind of going for the hot guy, or they're going for higher, what you would look at physically as a higher status guy, whether or not he is or not. I mean, you could have a guy that goes to the gym all the time, but if the car breaks down, you're fucked, right? Whereas you could have a guy that doesn't go to the gym, just a regular average looking dude, but hey, the power goes out, he can start a fire, he can fix the car, he can hunt. You know what I'm saying? So like you have different things that people are good at doing different shit, to be honest. But if the primary thing that women would be going towards is now career, and then guys are kind of second in their lives, and so as a result of that, they're looking to kind of have fun, and as trying to have fun, they want to have fun with somebody they perceive, which is maybe a certain type of guy, then we're in a situation where maybe there's going to be more men that just aren't getting anything at all. So I have, like I said, I've noticed a shift in all of this over the last couple of years, and I really want to know if anyone else has as well. So, if you want to email me, you know where to email me, tayradio1@gmail.com. Anyway, I'm going to continue on. We're going to talk about being woke and being too woke. Can you be too woke? Yes, I think you can. The other day I tweeted that I think being hyper woke is one of the worst mental prisons that a person could put on themselves. And what I mean by that is right now we're in a culture where it's so interesting too. So, okay, we're in a culture where in the United States, it's becoming very, very popular to, you cannot say anything offensive to particular minorities. And it's so funny, some of these people aren't even minorities, right? Like people of Hispanic origin, I think when you approach like 35% of the population, even though technically you're a minority, like you're such a large presence in the country that like, I don't think you could be considered a minority. But anyway, if you say something about like Hispanics or black people or women or Asians or whatever, any kind of joke, anything that could be interpreted as a slight is being policed. It's being policed through speech. So like I said, if you say something that's perceived as a slight, then you're being attacked on social media, in real life. People are afraid to say anything that might be offensive to a particular group, maybe disabled people or whatever. And also, the other thing about being hyper woke is we are in the holiday season, so hyper woke people love to cut down all the joys that everybody has in life. It's almost like hyper woke people are like that aunt or that grandma that is just bitter about life. And so everything that comes out of your mouth, they're like, no, what about this, you piece of shit? That's kind of like how hyper woke people are. And so I was saying that if you're hyper woke, it has to be the worst mental prison, because you're constantly having to police your own thoughts and everybody else's thoughts, right? Like you have to constantly be like, is that racist? Is he racist? Is he an oppressor? Is he a colonizer? Is she a colonizer? Is she an oppressor? Oh, you're saying that because I'm black, or you saying that because I'm a woman. The constant framing of you have a set up scenario of, I know exactly why everything's happening bad to me and everybody else, and it's because of these bad things about people. And we can't celebrate Thanksgiving because what about the Native Americans that died from European settlers, huh? What about them? We can't be in favor of Christianity because people have died at the hands of Christians. So what do you say about that? That's what a hyper woke person would say. Of course, I was satirizing a bit, but with that in mind, I was thinking the thing about mental prisons is that you don't know you're in one, right? Like when you're in a mental prison, you don't realize that you're in a mental prison. So, especially the hyper woke one. And so I think like it's so fascinating to me that hyper woke people think that they know more, that they are more enlightened, when in reality, they are more constrained prisoners than anyone I've ever heard. Because a hyper woke person has to be critical of everything. They have to be critical of everything. They cannot live I have gone through bouts of this myself. When I was in college, I briefly played around with Marxist ideas. And when I realized, it's so funny. After some self-reflection and understanding where I was in college at the beginning of this current SJW wave. And I realized then that if I go down this pathway, I will make myself a victim of my own attacks. Because it was like, at first it was like, you've got the oppressors, you got the capitalists. And then it was turned into more and more like, it's white people. And then I started going, wait a minute here. So we're not doing class anymore. We're doing like white people are the bad people now, And I said, okay, so you're telling me if I start getting into this movement, I got to start hating myself pretty much. And then I'm like, okay, I'm out. Right. So, but the thing is these people are in such a mental prison, especially white SJWs. They're hyper woke. They are in such a mental prison that they will hate themselves for their own skin color and ancestry. So, be aware of your mental prisons, right? If you are, it's really hard. I can't describe to somebody how to get out of a mental prison or how to identify it. But you just have to be open to the possibility that you could be wrong, I think. And you have to be open to reframing. And I think you also, what helps is experiencing life. I think the more life experience someone has in the world, then I think the less they are to attack people so viciously and critically for having a wrong think moment, or for saying something that might be interpreted as a little bigoted or slightly racist. It's like, listen, when you go out into the world and you've lived and you've traveled and you've worked hard, and then you come back to America and then you go, they're just joking. And then when you realize that life cannot be taken always so motherfucking seriously, that you are not that important, even though you are that important, when you realize that you are and are not important, then you can take a step back and go, man, I've really been going at this the wrong way. So anyway, that's all I got for today. You can leave me an email. You can leave me an email at tayradio1@gmail.com. Go to my website, tstuch.com, tstuch.com. Follow me on Twitter, tstuch1. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Taylor space Stuch, Taylor space Stuch. And you can also, that's it. So thank you for listening.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.